Welcome to Real Possibilities with AARP, because AARP believes no one's possibilities should ever be limited as they age. Hi, I'm Elaine Werner. I am on staff with the AARP Connecticut nonprofit statewide office. I am your host today, and we come to you in your local community with AARP's purpose in mind, and that purpose is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. And with that thought in mind, the title of our show is Livable Communities, Great Neighborhoods as We Age. And there's so many elements that go into making your community livable. We hope to get your mind twirling, ticking, thinking about all the elements that go into making for a livable community, such as when you age, accessibility to transportation. Do you have enough, the ability to access the civic and cultural opportunities in your neighborhood, to go shopping? Is your neighborhood safe? Is your housing affordable? Your neighborhood may be suburban or urban, so those needs may change. And all ages are affected by livable communities. So we're going to get to all that, all those details, again, with our show today on livable communities. So I'm going to get right to my guests. I'm going to introduce them first. First, our good friend, Peter Etter. Peter, welcome, Peter, to the show.
Thank you.
It's
great to be here.
Great to have you. And Peter is a long-term volunteer with AARP Connecticut. Peter has been a community engagement specialist for over 10 years. We want to thank you for that. He is active in his own community. He is on the Darien, Connecticut Commission on Aging. He's a founding member of At Home in Darien, and he's an active volunteer. And that has really informed your work on livable communities. We're going to get to that. And I'm proud to say, with Peter's work in helping to launch and evolve At Home in Darien and his work in his community, you were the recipient of our 2017 Andrus Award. Dr. Andrus was the founder of AARP Connecticut decades ago, and that is our most prestigious volunteer award given to somebody who allows people in their community to age with dignity and purpose. So
I'm very proud of it. Thank
and
you.
We're proud of you being the recipient of it. And I'd also like to introduce our other guest, Anna Doragazi. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. And Anna is one of our Associate State Directors for Advocacy and Outreach on staff as well in the AARP Connecticut office. She also comes to us as a Director of Policy and Communications with a statewide nonprofit. And Anna also worked with a neighboring state with the governor's office on policy in the nonprofit arena, so she brings a lot of policy work to us. So Anna, I'm going to help you launch and preface the show a little bit.
All right.
Help me with that AARP has a couple definitions of livable communities and age-friendly communities, and we're going to roll tape in just a moment, but if you can just briefly set that up for us.
Sure. So when AARP talks about livability, we have kind of two areas that we talk about. We talk about our network of age-friendly communities, which is a specific designation based on the World Health Organization's criteria, domains of livability. That network has more than 300 communities nationwide that are part of the network. We have some communities in Connecticut that are part of that network, and that's a very specific program, a very specific designation that just says your community at the elected official level has taken steps to say we are committed to livability, we're committed to planning as a community to make this a really great place to live as we age. It's not to say that those communities are there yet, it's not to say there's not more work to do, it's just saying that elected officials have made a commitment to be age-friendly. AARP also talks about livable communities generally, and that's where there's an opportunity for any citizen, any community, to say, what does it take for my community to be a better place to live? Livability is about great living, whether you're 8 years old or 80 years old. So it's creating towns and communities, counties, countries that are good, it kind of from cradle to grave. So what does it mean to have good access when you're 5 years old? What does it mean to have good access to park spaces, to education, to things that enhance your life if you're 85? So that's what we're talking about generally when we talk about AARP's Livable Communities initiative. And I just want to set up that distinction between livable communities in general and then our specific age-friendly network, because it can get a little bit confusing.
It can even get confusing to us on staff. So we're going to try to clarify all that with you right now. We're going to roll a tape that is going to talk about, it's a livability index, and it's going to show you the various elements We want to get you the wheels turning a little bit to think about all the elements that go into making for great neighborhoods and livable communities. And I just want to stress what Anna said, 8 to 80, pre-8 to 80 plus. Our community is good both for strollers, are they good for wheelchairs, walking, all those good things that make a neighborhood great, whatever age you are. So watch the tape, and here we go.
AARP's Public Policy Institute has launched an innovative new online tool, the Livability Index, Great Neighborhoods for All Ages. It scores every neighborhood and community in the United States for the services and amenities that affect people's lives the most. It is designed to capture what older adults, working professionals, and younger families want and need. Most people want to be able to stay in their homes and in their communities as they age. Yet it truly is an index for all ages, because when we plan for older adults, we plan for everyone. Can people of all ages, incomes, and abilities thrive in your town? The Livability Index can tell you. The tool assesses 7 categories of livability: housing, neighborhood, transportation, environment, health, engagement, and opportunity. Each neighborhood receives a score from 0 to 100. The average place gets a score of 50. To get a perfect score, a place would have to be among the best in each of the 7 categories. Whether scoring high, low, or in the middle, all communities have work to do. Gaps are opportunities to make places more livable. The Livability Index can be used to help people make their communities better places to live and age. How might someone use the Livability Index? Let's consider 3 examples. A grandfather is moving to his son's town. He learns that an apartment is near a library, a source for social events and internet access. He also finds high scores in civic and cultural engagement, which promise potential social and volunteer opportunities. A local official wants to know if her community is meeting the housing needs of older adults. She learns that few housing units can support someone who has trouble with stairs, but is connected to resources so she can help her community better serve its residents' needs. A young family just moved, but need to know if public transportation is kid-friendly and accessible for their toddler's stroller and for her grandmother, who has trouble walking. The Livability Index tells them what they can expect. There's more to the index than just scores. Map overlays reveal additional information about community demographics, such as age, race, ethnicity, income, and life expectancy. Users can see what policies are in place that support livability. They can also compare up to 3 locations side by side across all indicators and customize results according to their preferences. Want to know the livability score of your community? To see the index in action, check out aarp.org/livabilityindex. To learn more about the Institute, visit its website at aarp.org/livablepolicy or find it on social media at AARPpolicy and #LiveIndex. That's LIVINDEX.
Wow, that was really clarifying for me. I always love to see that tape. And if you want to review it, go to www.arp.org/livable. You can see that again. And now we're going to show a graphic on the screen. Anna spoke about the distinction generally between age-friendly communities and livable communities. We're going to show you a quick graphic on age-friendly communities. And if you can just very briefly touch on that, Anna.
Sure. So the World Health Organization has 8 domains of livability, and this is what AARP has focused its Livable Communities Initiative work around. And those domains, I think you can see it in the graphic, are outdoor spaces and buildings. The idea there is that people need safe and accessible public gathering spaces. The second domain is transportation. Driving doesn't work for everybody. So as communities, we need a mix of public transportation and targeted services like taxis or paratransit for people who can't access all the public transportation. The third domain is housing. A lot of people want to age in place. We're attached to our homes. We're attached to our communities. That's where we chose to be and where we want to stay. In order for that to happen, we need flexibility to modify our homes if necessary. We need zoning codes that allow that, and we need a range of affordable options in our communities for housing. The fourth domain is social participation. Loneliness has a negative impact on our health and well-being, so we can combat that with fun and accessible and affordable social activities. Domain 5 is respect and social inclusion. Livable communities are intergenerational. Whether you're young or old, your community needs to say there's a place for you here and you're respected and you bring something to the table and we can all learn from you. Domain 6 is civic participation and employment. If older people choose, they should have opportunities to use their skills in community life, whether it's working or volunteering. Domain 7, communication and information. Not everybody has a smartphone. So if there's important information out there, we need to make sure that it's disseminated in a variety of ways so that people can access it no matter what their technology access looks like. And finally, the 8th domain is community and health services. Everybody gets sick or hurt at some point in their life. And when that happens, we need to make sure that people are able to get to the health services that they need and that those services are accessible and affordable.
Well, thank you so much for defining all that, all the elements, many, many, and more that we don't even think about that goes into aging in place. Yes, most of us want to age right in our own communities. And again, if you would like to see that graphic, go to www.arp.org/livable, and that isolation factor is so key that we want to prevent people from being isolated as they age and get out in their communities. Peter, we mentioned that you helped launch At Home in Darien, Connecticut. So you've got a lot of on-the-ground experience, and I'm going to call you sort of the consultant to other towns in Connecticut too. You've helped mentor them through the Livable community process. Talk first, though, about At Home in Darien. What led to that, and what are some of the things that people in the community should be looking for when they're trying to make their community more livable?
Okay. So there are about 250 aging in place organizations in the United States. And 10 years ago, we decided in Darien, a town of 22,000, and about 14% of us, 60 years of age or older, should look at this. And so we surveyed all the seniors in our town, both in 2009 and 2015, right to Anna's point of the intergenerational dimensions of this. And we found out that, number one, 88% of our seniors want to stay in their homes as they age, which, by the way, is the national average, 88%. So the charter of an aging in place organization is one point only, how to keep people in their homes as they age in our community. The survey said that there were 4 areas. The first is transportation, that seniors wanted. The transportation in and around town to neighboring towns for social, for fun, for doctor's appointments, for their own volunteer work.
Restaurants, beauty parlors, barbers, whatever.
The second was they wanted a vetted services provided database. They wanted an Angie's List on steroids, so that if we needed a locksmith, for example, we can call up At Home in Darien and they'll recommend 2 or 3 people, and we'll get somebody that we know is reliable, okay? They might offer a discount, they might not. The third thing is volunteer assistance, okay? Volunteer shoppers, volunteer visitors. We even now have volunteer phone calls, so that once a week, if somebody wants to have a phone conversation with somebody,
I love that.
you call up.
Talk about
you have
preventing isolation.
Right. It used to be pen pals, right?
Okay,
but
right.
today
I remember that.
Today it's cell phone pals, right?
Here we go.
And the fourth, and this is the most important finding, was they wanted to have more connection to their community. The thing that surprised me was we did not want, because I'm a senior, we did not need any more senior events. What we wanted to do is we wanted to be a part of the community. The library, the churches, the art center, the schools, the high schools. And if I can, I'll give you one quick example of this. Some years ago, the captains of our Blue Wave football team, we're very proud of our Blue Wave football, came to us and said, we want to put a senior cheering section in our football games. How do we do that? And we said, I don't know, you do it. And so now in Darien, every home game, you have special parking, you just pull up. You have a special seating section. If it's cold, somebody may throw a blanket on you or throw you a cup of hot chocolate. But it's that integration, making it truly intergenerational.
Yes, very good. And so also, I know you have a relationship with Newtown, Connecticut also.
Right.
And you sort of, is mentoring the right word, sort of mentoring them or then support through their process? Just if you can talk about that relationship as well.
There are 3 communities in Darien that are members of the Livable communities, of which I think Anna said there's about 200 of them at this point in time. So, but there's only 3 in Connecticut, right? And the first is Greenwich, and it's been established quite a while. and the second is Newtown, and the third is just coming on board. But in Newtown, like at home, like Darien, had an aging in place organization, inclusive ones. Everybody in Newtown that's over a certain age is a member, and so I work with them, and they use the AARP tools to become a livable community. Okay, and if we can,
Sure.
AARP has produced a great series of Road to Livability. And so there's 6 books in the series. This one that you're holding is a listening session. So what Newtown did was they held a listening session in their town, an all-day event at the high school. They got all their seniors together, had round table. They said, what do we need? What do we need? And of course, every town is different. I mean, Darien, we don't need medical services all that much because we're blessed with 2 hospitals nearby. Newtown has a different situation. Newtown needed more transportation. So, and different communities need different things. So here again is where the AARP livability community really comes in handy, okay?
Absolutely.
Right.
This is very comprehensive.
We can talk more about that if you'd like.
Yes.
So.
And Greenwich, Connecticut, talk about that
No,
also.
Greenwich, Connecticut, again, got off to a very good start, and again, is completely integrated in the community now. And again, they're blessed because they have a hospital, a Greenwich Hospital.
Right.
So they really had a really great partner in their senior programs, right? And what it takes very committed senior public officials, as you mentioned, Anna, to get this program going.
So that leads me to my next question. There can be challenges or barriers to setting up a livable community. So you need that you just mentioned leadership there, or somebody is helping promote it. So if you can speak to that, Peter, a little bit about those kind of barriers or caveats for people to be aware of.
I guess the biggest barrier is to overcome the not invented here syndrome. The fact that somebody in a town, for example, feels that they're really doing it all. It could be, and they might be. It could be a senior center. It could be a director of human services. The one barrier so you want to get is everybody on the same page. We want to get everybody that are key people in the town to realize that they need to have an intergenerational program that cuts across it. Okay, and it's one of the things that made At Home in Darien so successful. The leading houses of worship, our town select people, the director of human services, the senior center, we all saw the need, and
partnership.
we said, right, and we all said, you know what, we're each doing a very effective job, but if we work together, we can really get more of it done.
And you know, we have to keep stressing we keep using the word intergenerational and livable communities. That's our show today. Great neighborhoods for all ages. Again, whether it's a toddler, whether it's somebody who is in their 60s or older or aging, it affects everybody in the community. So we say whether, as I've said before, whether it's a stroller on the sidewalk or a wheelchair or accessibility and transportation, it's for all ages. So we need all those people working together. Anna, coming to you again, I know AARP offers opportunities for community grants in the livable community. So if you can speak to what those grants are about, why we're doing them, who might be the right person to go after them, and how they would access it.
Sure. So we have 2 different livable communities focused grants. We have one at the national level that's run out of our national office. And then just this past year, we had our first Connecticut Livable Communities grant program where we offered $10,000, grants up to $25 a piece to communities that...
$2,500?
$2,500, yep, that could come to us and say, you know, for this amount of money, we'll be able to complete a project in the next year in our community that gets us closer to that place of livability. So in our first year, we had 4 communities that we selected for this grant program. Goodwin College, we funded at $2,500 to improve some of their outdoor spaces. So they have a nice trail network along the Connecticut River in East Hartford. So they are in the process of putting up safety signs. So the people who are using the trails know if the trail's flooded. They know if there's poison ivy on the side of the trail. So they can enjoy that outdoor public space in a way that's safe and that makes it feel more approachable for people. We also provided a grant to an organization called Groundwork Bridgeport that's looking to bring what they call placemaking to underutilized spaces in downtown Bridgeport.
Okay.
So they're looking to host 3 movie events this summer where they're
fun.
going to bring people into the community. They have 3 different locations in mind, including a vacant lot, where the plan is to engage the community in cleaning up this vacant lot, to get some seating, to show a film in this space.
Fun.
So spots that are available to the community but underutilized, and that touches on the social isolation, it touches on having good outdoor spaces. We are funding the Mansfield Downtown Partnership to work on a space. They've been in Mansfield redoing some of their downtown area, making it a bit more walkable, bringing some business into the downtown area. So we are, I believe the money is going to be used to buy a swing that's going to go, it's sort of an updated park bench.
Okay.
So there's going to be a little area where you can have this swing where people can sit and listen to music and just
all
be
ages
part
again?
of the community.
It's
All ages again. And then we also provided a grant to Oak Hill, which is going to have an assistive device learning library. So the idea there is that technology is something that's really effective at helping people stay in their home as they age. That maybe you can't use your faucet or the light switch the same way that you used to, but that shouldn't be a barrier that results in you living in a nursing home or having to
Right.
move out of your apartment. These are
Right.
easy fixes.
Right.
A lot of people are familiar with like Alexa or other technology
Right.
where you can do voice commands to accomplish tasks. So the lending library is going to have a handful of assistive technology devices that people can try for a week or 2,
Fine.
see if they like it, see if it meets their needs, and then they can make the purchase. So you don't have to purchase 10 different items and figure out which one meets your need. You can go to the library.
That's very cool. I love that.
Yeah. So we're really excited about these projects. And then, I guess stay tuned with AARP Connecticut to see if this is a project that we continue going into 2019.
And Anna, we're going to have your email address up on the site. So if people are interested in knowing more about it, would your email address be
That'd be
appropriate?
great, yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
adoragazi@aarp.org. You will see that up on the screen. And, no one should feel reticent about applying for the grants. They can be big or not so big. It can be a small fix in a community, am I right, that can work? So, don't be bashful about applying. We've got an outstanding committee that looks at all the opportunities very carefully. So you can contact Anna Doragazi directly at our office, or me, Elaine Warner, and my direct line is 860-548-3169. Peter Etter, coming back to you, our great volunteer for many years with a focus on livable communities. Peter, you've had the opportunity through our statewide office to also go to conferences and around the country for AARP. Any takeaways from that, both for you to apply to Connecticut or something you could give to our listener that you or viewer that you've learned in being able to travel outside of Connecticut to learn about communities?
Well, here again, and I'm going to promote AARP, they make great tools available. So not only a conference, which is a learning experience where you go and you can share information, but for example, if you're considering, and you should, a livable community, AARP can really be helpful, okay? Here's a book, for example, that comes out annually, and it's 100 communities, their case histories. So what's the value of it? Number one, it keeps you from repeating other people's mistakes, okay?
I like that, okay.
You can get started a lot quicker. And number three, you can find partners, because a condition that may exist in Connecticut also existed in North Carolina or in Maine, where again, in a livable community, they found a solution and you can apply it. So it's this interchange of information that's so valuable, and you can enrich it. And again, once you get going, then you can share your successes with other communities also wanting to establish it.
And I love that whenever I go to AARP conferences, my best thing is, and I mean this in the most respectful way, is stealing ideas from my colleagues.
Absolutely.
And applying best practices to that. So, Anna, just to come back to you for a second, I'm older, I live in the Farmington Valley. If I were to have some takeaways from this program to really think about in my community, I love living in Connecticut. There's so much to offer here. I hope I'm sharing that with you as a viewer. If you had to just simplify in things that I should be thinking about, as I said, we want to get the wheels turning today, for people to think about how can I make my community more livable, whatever age you are, and make for great neighborhoods. What are some of the top things, again, I should be thinking about?
Sure. So I think there are two ways to think about it. There's kind of the community policy scale, and there I think we need to all be advocates for affordability, for accessibility, for people to think about their communities really holistically. So when we're talking as a community about public transportation and putting in a new bus line, does it go to the places where people who use transportation want to go? Does it get you to the grocery store, to the doctor's office? Does it do a loop just through residential neighborhoods so you can get on it, but where do you want to get off? So there are those pieces that I think from a policy perspective, we really need to make sure that we're focusing on being holistic, affordability, and accessibility. But then as individuals, I think there are opportunities to look at our own homes and to think about what's it going to take for me to stay here as I age and to plan for that. I had mentioned earlier, sometimes our faucets or our light switches. Yes. Well, there are some great easy adaptations. Doorknobs as we age can get problematic, but you can change very easily to the knobs that have kind of a tail on them almost, so you could use your elbow. So whether you lose mobility as you age or whether you have an injury that prevents you from using some of the items in your house, I think that's something that we can all prepare for, that as we renovate our homes, as we look to buy homes initially, even at my age, I have a young family and I'm looking at a home, and my husband and I are already thinking, well, what does it look like for us to buy a home that we can age into, that's going to work now when we have toddlers and that's going to work later when, maybe we have grandkids, or maybe one of us is using some kind of assistive device to get us around. So I think that's something that we can all do on a personal level.
Yes.
And also on a personal level, the social inclusion piece. We can volunteer. We can be the ones making those calls, checking on our neighbors, making sure that people feel included and respected and at home in their communities.
I want to thank you both. Anna Doragazi, she is AARP's one of our Associate State Directors for Advocacy and Outreach, out there advocating on behalf of the 50-plus population in Connecticut. Peter Etter, our long-term volunteer who helped launch a livable community in Darien and supports other livable communities in Connecticut. If you're interested in knowing more about livable communities, making your neighborhood even greater, you can go to aarp.org/livable. Also, if you are a member of AARP, all of us want to thank you. We're more than 600,000 strong in the state of Connecticut. We'll visit you soon in your local community with hopefully some great resources, get you thinking about aging with dignity and purposes. Thanks for watching. We'll be back to see you again soon. Thank you.